absent. Mr. Hawkins.
Here.
Ms. Cavanis.
Here.
Here.
Here. Mr. Cromer.
Here.
Mr. Shoemaker.
Here.
Ms. Harris.
Here.
And Mr. Anderson is also absent.
And Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? More
I will.
volunteers. Thank you, Quincy.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance
To
the United States of America and to the
the
republic,
republic for which
one nation, under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm old enough to remember when we didn't say under God. Oh, wow.
Well, theoretically, I think I might be too, but I don't want to admit that.
Well, that takes on special meaning, not to get political, in the world we have today with war going on and everything else. So, right on that one. Thank you so much. So first off, our first item will be to take any public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Hi, Jim. So any public out there?
Not here, we have public comments at this time.
Okay. Except for Gary, who's not public, but. Okay, no public comment. So first item of business is our resolution authorizing teleconference meetings pursuant to government code section blah, 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 in compliance with Assembly Bill for our hybrid Zoom and in-person meetings. I need a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there any comment or any public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have to do roll call. Okay, sorry.
Yep, roll call vote. Ms. Cavison. Mr. Hawkins.
Did I or me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Cavanis.
Aye.
Mr. Jardine.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Cromer.
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker.
Aye.
Ms. Harris.
Here. Oh, aye.
Thank you. Approved.
So Vince, it used to be some of us said aye and some of us said yes, but Quincy taught us to all say aye.
Yeah, been wearing everybody down for
You
years.
have. Okay, we are going to go into closed session, and in this closed session, we're going to have consultation with Gary Henning, who's here from Mendocino County Information Services. Tony Rakes is not going to be here.
No, Mr. Rakes is not.
Okay, and we're going to be discussing potential security threats to public services pursuant to Government Code 54957A. We also are going to have a conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, significant exposure due to the Historical Benefit Review Project. And we're also going to have a conference with real property negotiator, our negotiator Doris Rentschler, regarding our building here on Kings Court. Any comment before we go into closed session? No public comment. Then we will wait for Judy to tell us when we're ready for closed session. And thank you for being here. to open session, and Jeff, if you wouldn't mind reporting out on closed session, that'd be great.
Sure, thank you. So there were 3 closed session items. On the first item, 2A, the board received information from Gary Henning, the county's Information Services Network Manager. No action was taken. On the second item, the Historical Benefit Review Project, no action taken. And the last item, conference with real property negotiator, direction was given to staff and council.
Thank you very much. So we will move on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes of August meeting, the August retirement report, and the preliminary monthly financial report. So are there any public comments, or is there anything on the consent agenda that a trustee would like to pull?
I have a comment,
Mhm.
if there's nothing being pulled.
There's no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I would like to make a correction to the draft minutes on item 8, discussion and possible action regarding information technology master plan. It said that the board direction was that I would execute a contract and bring back a budget amendment at the next meeting. The direction was to work on a contract with Linnea as stated, but there was nothing in the action to bring back a budget amendment, which is not necessary because we do have allocation for consultants that would cover the cost, even though it was a little bit more than what we initially had anticipated. So there will be no budget amendment coming back. I just wanted to mention that if we could just strike it from the word "and" through the end of the sentence.
Okay. Judy will do that. And I did want to make a comment about the new format on the retirement report. Okay, it makes it more concise, the way you've got the table, but that's not pulling it directly from LRS.
That is using LRS reports to populate a table that is then presented in the report. It's not being produced as one report directly out of LRS due to the cost. It does have a little bit of difference in some of the data being presented, but the end result is presenting the net changes and the current numbers. And if there's any feedback on what you would like or don't like, I'd be happy to entertain that.
So, a question about the net, before there was the line for death. The net can change by death or other issues.
Yes, everything is netted in there. So with active membership, it could be an active death, it would be a new hire, it would be someone who quits. All of those types of transactions are netted into changes that then affect the ending balance for the month going forward. In part because of the way data is stored within PG, it's hard to get some of that data out, and we haven't had the time to try to develop our own ad hoc queries. So I was using reports that currently had counts and information available, but not necessarily the same level of detail that was previously being provided, that was only relying on a county HR report and didn't reflect any of the potential transactions at our smaller plan sponsors.
My question was regarding the new retiree receiving benefit payments. It seemed like it was a month behind because some of these people had already been on some monthly reports.
I have a change with the new methodology that shows the month that they draw their first check. So some of those folks were on last month's report because their effective retirement date was last month, but they got their first check August. So that's what's being reported there. So that should be eliminated, but that first month with the conversion, there likely was some duplications there.
Very good.
Any further questions or comments? Then we can consider the consent agenda approved by unanimous consent. And we will skip over 4 and move to agenda item 5. I'm gonna guess there's no report on agenda item 5, discussion regarding the historical benefit review project status report and project update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this month is simply an oral update that there is no information to report on the historical benefit review project.
Are there any public comments on that agenda item?
Well, there does not appear to be public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. And we will move on to item 6, discussion and possible action regarding compensation earnable and pensionable compensation resolutions. 2 of resolutions, one for PEPRA and one for non-PEPRA.
Correct. Similar to the previous couple of months, these 2 new resolutions are simply to add new pay codes created by the county so they can distinguish and report wages and items for exempt personnel separate from the codes used for non-exempt personnel. None of these result in any changes to pensionable compensation. It's just a duplication of an existing code and given a new number and is designated as being used for exempt personnel. So with that, there are a couple of new codes on the report, but nothing that is altering what is included in pensionable compensation.
Questions or comments? Think we do need to, any public comment on that?
Doesn't appear.
Okay.
No.
I think we do need to take action on adopting these 2 resolutions, so I would entertain a motion.
So
Madam
moved.
Chair, I'll second.
Okay,
That
is
was
that
more of a
Catherine?
question if we could do them jointly as one motion. Okay.
We're doing them jointly as one motion. Catherine, you moved and Quincy second. Any further discussion? Then let's vote on that motion. It's a roll call vote.
Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Ms. Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Mr. Dirty,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Cromer,
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker, Ms. Harris,
Aye.
approved.
Sounds so good, doesn't it? So moving on to item number 7, discussion and possible action regarding board performance evaluation policy. Somebody wants to evaluate us.
You want to evaluate yourselves. Thank you, Madam Chair. As part of the strategic plan, one of the objectives was development of a board self-evaluation process. This policy is the development of the process we would use for the board performance evaluation. There are no financial impacts associated with adoption of the policy itself. There could be costs if the board wishes to engage a consultant to assist with the process in any given year. It just establishes guidelines for the process. This item does have a high correlation because it is specifically tied to action items within the board's strategic plan. If you have questions regarding the policy, I'm happy to address any of them. This policy was drafted that the results of the self-evaluation would be presented at the November meeting, which means that if we wish to keep that timeline this year, that we'll be ramping that up over the next couple of months very quickly here in order to get the evaluation out and presented. But the time is at direction of the board, so with any given year, we can alter that. Given the fact that we do have a couple of new trustees, if the board just wants to implement this with next year, we can look at doing that, but we can get the policy adopted. I did send out some information to the ad hoc committee. One of the committee members wanted to try to have the evaluation done this year at November, and I'll leave it up to discussion with the board members. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Is this policy something that came from another county or what?
It highly borrows from 2. One is Kern County, and the other, I believe, was an out-of-state board. there are only 2 serial systems that do board performance evaluations, Kern County being one, and I don't remember the other right now. But I used materials from both of the serial systems and a couple of external to the state systems in development of the policy guidelines.
So, Jim first.
Yeah, Doris, I noticed that it talked about the development and then the potential use of an outside consultant. Taking a lot of these where it's an online type of survey. If we came up with the questions, were you envisioning that type of thing, or
Oh, good.
what? Because those seem to be very easy to use, and somebody else does all the compilation for you.
Using Kern County as an example, because they did hire a consultant, they used someone with Hewitt fiduciary. They worked with the consultant as far as either a board member and their management staff with the consultant to determine the questions. It was then, I believe, put together and provided to the trustees via SurveyMonkey or electronic method like that. Then those results were compiled by and the outside consultant. I believe in some years, Kern also used their consultant to do one-on-one interviews with trustees. I believe last time they were conducted via Zoom to get a little more insight, and then incorporated those comments and some of the information from the individual interviews in the information that was presented to the board as far as the performance results. It can certainly be done without a consultant. It really just depends on the desire of the board. If a consultant if you would like to use a consultant this year, then we would probably want to look at pushing the time frame a little bit, because we would need to contract with a firm and then start the process of developing the questions that the board has interest in, evaluating different areas, and getting that survey mechanism out to trustees. If you want to move forward with having one done this year, I do have a large number of questions from other systems, examples of their past types of board performance and self-evaluation questions that we could pull from and put together. The policy uses a facilitator who would be a trustee, most likely, to assist with development of those questions, so we can ensure that it covers the issues that may be unique to our board and not just some generic canned questions, that it also addresses specific items that this board may want to cover in its self-evaluation.
So I will make a comment myself in that, I mean, I have gone through a lot of board evaluation procedures where you evaluate yourself as a trustee and evaluate the board as a whole on how they're functioning. And I probably have some samples as well somewhere, but I would feel very pressured if we were trying to get this done by November to work on anything like that. I know that Richard and Jim and I on a subcommittee still have to work on evaluation for the director, adjusted for our new strategic plan. And to add this, I would like to ask somebody else if they would be interested in working with Doris on this. I just don't see how we can get it out there and back in the next 2 months when we haven't looked at any sample questions or anything yet. I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, and I can provide the sample questions to whoever serves as the facilitator. I did provide them to the ad hoc strategic plan committee, project committee, but there's
who's on the ad hoc project? Is that Catherine?
It's Catherine Cavness and Mr. Jurdy.
Okay, all right. Dan, do you guys evaluate your board?
Have not done that before.
Okay, all right. So, so how do you want to proceed? Is there somebody who would, volunteer to take on the task of helping look at these questions?
Right now,
No?
no.
Okay.
Now, the policy does indicate that the evaluation can be conducted annually or at a frequency determined by the board. It also says typically presented at November, but that the timing can be adjusted again by the board. So we go ahead and potentially adopt the policy, and unless there's wholesale changes that need to be made to the policy, even if the board says, you know what, we're not going to be ready to look at this until, you know, June, July, September next year, whatever it might be, or just say we'll adopt the policy, but we don't plan to do one in calendar year 22. We'll just deal with it in calendar year 23. It's really at the board's pleasure, because this is a tool for the board to use.
Would it make, sense to do it in tandem with the executive director evaluation, do them both during the same time frame, which means this wouldn't be completed till June, July? I mean, I don't know, on the trustee, do you feel like evaluating the executive director and yourself at the same time? And I see Dan has your hand up again. And Kathy.
Well, I was thinking, since I think historically we've done the strategic planning every couple of years, maybe the board self-evaluation on the alternate year.
That's an idea. Catherine?
Well, I think that I'm kind of in favor of us doing it without a consultant, but I would appreciate it if the board as a whole that get have, well, one or two people, maybe a subcommittee, but having feedback from all the members of the board of what every person feels would be significant questions to include as part of the evaluation process. You know, it's like, rather than leaving it up to one or two people to decide, to have, you know, feedback from everybody before we even have a completed evaluation form.
Well, and that's what we've done with the executive director policy
Right.
as well. Yeah, we brought things down.
Miss Chair.
Yeah.
I would be happy to send an email out to all of the trustees asking if there are specific topics of concern they would like to have included, including any specific questions that they would have. And I'm happy to provide the sample questions to the entire board so they can see the types of questions used with other jurisdictions, if that would be helpful.
I think that would be helpful. To see the samples that other people have used. I'm still just concerned about the timing, moving into the fall and everything. I'm not ready to tackle it right now. And apparently Jerry isn't. So I think I would like to see us move forward, and I would adopt the policy personally, knowing that we can make changes to it if we, you know, come up with things that aren't working right. I just don't like that November time. And I don't really
originally-
want to wait until next November.
I had originally selected November, thinking that new trustees typically join the board in December, and this would give them most of the year to get accustomed to the board before they had to answer the survey and get the results back to the board before, again, there was any transition in trustees. But that isn't necessarily always the case. As we know, we've had two trustees join us in the middle of the term this year, and they haven't had much of an opportunity to work with the board before they would get their first evaluation. We can do it at whatever timeframe pleases the board.
So I like the November date as well for this year.
Mhm.
I also think that getting input from Quincy, from Sherry, from Julie, who's the most recent board members that have left, or are leaving. I think, or am I wrong?
He's up for election again.
Oh, he is up, you are right. Gonna run again. I've already submitted. Okay,
Thank
good.
you,
I take that
Quincy.
back.
Yeah.
But I think going to Sherry and Julie and kind of running this concept by them before they get too far away from them might be interesting.
As far as completing a survey and having them participate.
Well, having
because of-
them actually suggest questions,
Oh, all right.
things like that, help their input on building it, and then we just take responsibility after the holidays, after we get our work.
Yes.
And go on. Sorry about that profile. I heard you were retiring.
So, I think our action today is to consider adoption of this policy. I do see the reasoning for the November date. If we adopt this policy as written, we don't have to do it this November.
It does say that the chair may adjust the timing of the
Okay.
evaluation as necessary.
Okay,
And the frequency was input as annually because that was the objective that the strategic plan consultant had listed in the strategic plan that the board adopted. But that's certainly, again, at the discretion of the board. If we want to change it so it's every other year, we can look at that if you want to incorporate Dan's comment into the actual policy.
until we know the extent of the questions and how much work it will be on our individual parts, I don't want to change that to biannual at the moment.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think the language is fine. It says that the conducted annually or at the frequency as directed by the board. So I don't think we would need to even change it. We're sitting at a position 1 year doing the strategic planning and say, we don't think we need it this year. We move forward without it.
So we can move forward with this and do something in the spring or at the same time as the executive director's evaluation, and then at that time decide whether we're going to wait until following November or whatever. So what I'm looking for now, if people are okay with the policy, and again, we can make changes as we work through it. If you're okay with the policy, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the policy with the stipulation that we're not going to do it this November. We're going to work on it.
Move to approve.
I
Move to
second.
approve. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Catherine. Okay. Appreciate that. Any further discussion? And thank you for the policy. I think the policy is, self-explanatory. It's well written. I was just would like to see what the questions are and what.
No problem. I'll get those out this afternoon.
Okay, well, I may not read them this afternoon.
That's fine. You go on your camping trip
Yes,
and
I will.
ignore us,
I
okay?
will.
If you answer, I will be very disappointed.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Are there any public comments on this issue? The public probably would like to see us evaluate ourselves.
There is no public comment.
Thank you. And so I will take a roll call vote. Oh, did you have a comment?
No, I was just gonna say, my thinking is, if it ain't broke.
Okay. Well, some people think if it ain't broke, break it. So,
No.
Okay.
So we don't have enough on our plate, that's all.
No, I understand that, but I do, working with boards in the past, I do think that a board self-evaluation is a valuable tool in many respects. We just don't want it to be overburdening. Anyway, roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Ms. Cabinet,
I think she said
Aye.
Mr. Journey,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
aye.
Mr. Cromer,
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Aye.
Ms. Harris,
No. That's the advantage of voting last. No.
And what about,
policy still approved.
not yes and no, aye and nay?
Nay, I'm sorry, I should have
Nay.
said nay. Apologize.
Okay. Okay, let's, and thank you for all that work on that, Joyce. Let's move on to item number 8, which is the 21-22 final budget report. And I don't know, if Robert's going to address that? Yes. Robert.
Trustees, you have before you the fiscal year 22 final budget update. It's largely the same as the preliminary update with a few minor changes which were detailed in the memo. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Lot of money. Thanks for your work on this, Robert.
Yeah.
You just sitting back there in the back office?
Yeah, he's 2 doors down.
Any comments or questions?
And there's no public comment.
Thank you. Okay, Robert, thank you very, very much. So now we have discussion and possible action regarding investment matters. You don't need to adopt the final budget? No?
I don't know, does that require adoption, Judy? Or is it just a receive and file?
Okay, all righty. Okay, then let's move on to the investment report. Any,
I'm going to turn this over to Robert Olson.
okay,
Trustees, you have the August investment report produced by Callan. And it shows the changes for the last month.
but
No
lots of
major
red.
structural changes within the portfolio.
I liked it a lot better when it was up around 800 million.
We never quite got there. So we were over 7. We were over 7.
Over 7, over 7, yeah. Robert, get it back up there to 8 million, okay? 800 million, yeah, sorry. Yeah, there is a big difference. Okay. So we move on to item number 10 regarding the administrative report. So Director Lynch.
Thank you very much. I would like to bring to your attention that Judy will be attending the LRS Pension Goal Teaming Conference in Springfield, first part of next month. This conference is an opportunity to really learn more about the functionality within PG so we can utilize it better. There are funds in the budget for staff travel. Although this is out-of-state travel, I wanted to update the board on that. I did want to also give you an update on the issue with income in respect of a decedent. We worked with LRS and they identified a way that we can actually use the current functionality to issue a payment to a beneficiary, essentially without customization, so we're good there. I did enter a contract for property management services with Pinnacle Construction Services to provide all of the routine and any emergency maintenance issues that arise. Sackers is coming up. Please let Judy know if anybody plans on attending so she can make your reservations. I will be attending, Robert will be attending the Sackers Fall Conference. There's also a Sackers Administrative Legislative update in your packets for you and a copy of the opposition to Assembly Bill 2943 that Sarah submitted in conjunction with 2 other Cheryl systems. That piece of legislation was withdrawn and is no longer moving forward.
Okay. Questions, comments for Director Rentschler? Thank you for your report. With a lot of detail in that LRS thing, so
I'll try to trim it down.
fun.
Well,
like
the
a lot of
travel
stuff.
is gonna be, yeah, pretty busy.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very good. So, general board member discussion. Any trustee have anything they want us to know? Or for next month's agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
as was previously brought up, I have submitted my interest in being reelected as the safety representative on this board. I have no clue if any other safety members are going to submit their interest, but if you'll have me, I'll go for another couple of years.
We would love
We
to
love
have
it.
you. So there are some terms expiring because I got a little email from the county that said re-up. But if you don't re-up, you're still on until you find a replacement, right?
Well, you're allowed to serve, until you're replaced. But I think the executive office, would assist in helping you renew your application without having to, without much difficulty. They'll help facilitate that. I think it's better to renew your app if you continue. And if you do need to resign at some point, you have that option of resigning.
I've done that before.
No,
I
don't
don't
think about it.
And we still have one seat that's vacant, so
Yes,
if
we do.
anybody knows anyone who
I
would
have
be.
been trying.
I appreciate your effort.
And
but-
Jim and I brainstormed one day, yeah.
And this is the county appointed, the appointed.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that. So if there's no further business, we will adjourn this meeting. Our next board meeting will be on October 19th here and on Zoom, assuming we're still doing Zoom, yes, at 8:30 in the morning. And I may or may not be here, but we will see you whenever. Richard may chair that meeting. But anyway, thank you all for your morning, and we get to go home early today. All right.
Thank you.
Adjourned.
Thank you.
You all.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.